The loveliest thing anyone ever said, they said to me once, when I've watched Monty Python, I cannot then go on and watch the evening news. I cannot take it seriously. That's wonderful.
And get the machine that goes bing! And get the
After more than 50 years in the business, John Cleese still isn't sure why some things just are funny.
You don't need to follow anybody!
Even his favourite skit of all time.
You're all individuals! Yes, we're all individuals! You're all different! Yes, we are all different! I'm not.
And one of them says, I'm not. And they all go, shh. And the joke, I've tried to understand that joke. It makes no sense.
But it's great.
It's hilarious, and it makes no sense at all. So I think it's lovely when you can do things that have no meaning, that are still funny.
Now, sex.
It's a brand of humour that has propelled John Cleese to international stardom.
Guards, search the house!
The outrageous anarchy of Monty Python,
Crucifixion lasts hours. It's a slow, horrible death.
Well, at least it gets you out in the open air.
to the hapless hotelier Basil Fawlty.
This Basil's wife. This Basil. This smack on head.
He's played everything from 007's sidekick
You know, you're cleverer than you look.
Still better than looking cleverer than you are. Follow me, please.
Really sorry.
I'm really, really sorry.
to a bumbling barrister in A Fish Called Wanda.
Take it back.
I do. I offer a complete and utter retraction.
My hovercraft is full of eels.
He's been a writer, actor and comedian.
Blasphemer!
But right from the start, John Cleese has used humour to make a point, sending up the very world he lived in.
I look down on him because I am upper class.
I look up to him because he is upper class.
But there's nothing he loved more than ridiculing the British class system.
I am middle class. I know my place.
Your dad said to you, you must never look startled.
That's right, because he'd been in India mixing with the upper middle classes, and he noticed how they behaved. It's really baboon behaviour. If you want to see how to behave as an upper class person, go and watch the baboons. They're not startled, they move very, very slowly all the time.
The number one rule is not to be embarrassing or to be embarrassed.
Yes, so if you look at the royals, what they do is they keep these cheek muscles completely rigid all the time, and then that enables them to sort of move their mouths around like this in a sort of humorous way. And all the emotion is completely, superfluous and unnecessary. And it's a straitjacket. That's upper class behaviour.
John Marwood Cleese was born in Weston-super-Mare in Somerset, England, the only child to what he described as overprotective parents Reginald and Muriel. He was academically smart.
Good evening. Here is the news.
But while studying to become a lawyer at Cambridge University, something happened to Cleese on the way to the courthouse.
Somebody's stolen the news. May I have the news back, please? I'm so sorry about this.
Suddenly there were people saying, come and work at BBC Radio. And I suddenly thought, well, why not? And
Why not,
Why not?
exactly.
And the great thing was, Liz, that it was for the BBC, so that I could sell it to my parents, a bit like joining the civil service, because if I was able to say, well, there's a pension scheme, then they would say, oh, well, that's fine, then go into show business.
You know, Hell is a purely voluntary organisation. There's no state aid, no insurance scheme, no grant even from UNICEF.
Cleese had been a scriptwriter and cast member of the stage comedy Cambridge Circus.
What can you do to help? Well,
So successful, it was taken to the West End in London. And then, when Cleese was 24, on a tour of New Zealand.
Would you help us? Please?
You said you left in July 1964.
That's right. And arrived in New Zealand where it was 1922. That's right. That was absolutely right. They were clueless except at rugby and cricket.
You also lost your virginity in New Zealand.
That's right. We're extremely late, and I was so ineffectual and ill at ease with women that it was quite extraordinary when I look back at it.
This parrot is no more. It has ceased to be. It's expired and gone to meet its maker.
Luckily for Cleese, his career got out of the blocks much faster than his sex life.
It's a stiff.
He was only 30 when he became a founding member of the comedy phenomenon Monty Python.
It's got me pining for the fields.
Pining for the fjords? What kind of talk is that?
Yes, we were very silly, but we weren't very satirical. We made a lot of fun of the class system and education and things like that. And you could tell that the younger people just loved it because we were saying something like, don't take it too seriously.
And it looks as though we're in for a splendid afternoon sport on this, the 127th Upper Class Twit of the Year show. Vivian Smith-My-Smith.
What is the silliest thing you've done, given silliness was
I
was
think
paramount?
the silliest thing was the fish slapping dance. I always say that I think sometime in the future some poor student of media studies is going to have to write an essay about what that means, because it is almost meaningless, and yet it's extraordinarily funny, and I love that.
Very well. I shall release Roderick. Sir, we don't have a Roderick either.
No what, no Roderick?
For Cleese, the Python's success would only be the beginning.
Basil! Basil!
Irritating.
When he and his then-wife Connie Booth wrote Fawlty Towers, it cemented Cleese's place in comedic history.
Will you stop talking about the war?
Me? You started it?
We did not start it.
Yes, you did. You invaded Poland.
But people always assume that that means that I'm like Basil, and it isn't like that at all, because when you act a character, you take certain facets of your own personality and you emphasize them.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I. Perhaps it's a dream. No, it's not a dream. We're stuck with it. Right.
So what little bit of you is Basil?
All of it. His anger is always based on fear.
You know, duck!
He's not just not an angry man, he's frightened of something, like being found out. He gets more and more frustrated.
I'm telling you, if the good Lord is mentioned once more, I shall move you closer to him. Now, please!
Fawlty Towers is still seen around the world and was voted the UK's greatest television show. And it was all based on a real hotel and its owner, where the Pythons once stayed.
The Pythons all moved out of the hotel. They were so appalled by this man and the way he treated his guests, who were these people who came in and sort of spoiled his life. And I was the one who stayed behind along with Connie, and thank God I did, because of the material it gave me.
It seems the only thing Cleese hasn't been successful at is marriage. After his third nuptials to American psychotherapist Elise Faye Eichelberger ended, he was forced to embark on what he called his alimony tour.
I call it the Alimony Tour Year 3, or Feeding the Beast. And here is a recent photograph of my ex-wife at a London ATM, helping herself to some of my money.
She went after me really quite brutally by hiring the nastiest, I don't mean the second nastiest or the third nastiest lawyer in Santa Barbara, but the nastiest. And my wife went and hired this really nasty woman, and I've had to pay her $20 million. It's not fair.
But apparently I got off lightly, because my lawyer points out how much more I would have had to pay my ex-wife had she contributed anything to the relationship. You know, if we'd had children or even a two-way conversation.
Did that ex-wife react at all to your alimony tour?
I've no idea, because she always said from the very beginning that if we broke up, we would never speak again.
And she's kept that
from
promise.
the day that we broke up, we have never spoken, and I've decided it's an extremely good arrangement.
And you could be forgiven for never walking down the aisle again. But you have.
Oh, yes, because I think deep down I'm a romantic. As I say, God put me on the planet to understand women better. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to find another one.
And so he has. Wife number 4 is Jennifer Wade, an American, 32 years his junior. And this time, he's certain.
So I'm now very much in love with Jen, or Fish as I call her, because she swims like a fish. And we laugh immoderately and are wonderfully rude to each other. People think we're having a row. We're just falling about with laughter.
Where were we? You say, now that's what I call a dead parrot.
Now that's what I call a dead parrot.
At 75, Cleese is still going strong.
No.
But his legendary role with Monty Python is now done.
No, I say. It's stunned.
Stunned?
Yeah, stunned.
The reunion this year, he says, made him realise that.
Yes, I had a moment when they pushed us out on these daises, and I could see 16,000 people. It goes back a long way, Liz. And I remember thinking, how extraordinary that I don't feel excited. That was my emotional reaction. And it wasn't a choice. And that's why I think I realize I have the talents of an actor, but not the temperament. And I'm much happier writing.
Flu! We should eat more fresh fruit.
Comedy and Cleese are like champagne and caviar.
Champagne.
A combination that's hard to beat. Extraordinary given it started out more like cheese and crackers.
And how are we today?
Better.
Better?
Better get a bucket. I'm going to throw up.
Gaston, a bucket.
It's on your right.
In fact, the family name was originally Cheese. According to Cleese, his dad Reg, fed up with being teased that he was fermented curd, decided to change it.
Do you wish you were Cheese or Cleese?
Oh, I think cheese. I would like to have been cheese.
And Jack Cheese, you said.
Jack Cheese, too, because Jack is more fun than John. As I say, you know, Dear John letters. You don't hear about Dear Jack letters.
Dear Jack Cheese. Thank you very much.
Pleasure chatting.
It's been lovely.
Good.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Liz Hayes. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.